Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me on my journey into the constraints-led approach for BJJ. I am your host, Sam Battlefields, and I'm here to talk today about this morning's class, as I have been for a very long time. I didn't actually teach this class, teach in inverted commas. I didn't design today's practice. I was a passenger, or a student at this point. So Aaron took the class. It was a really good class. He's come along. He's understanding a lot more. He's trying not to explain things, and I'll give you a bit of insight. So today we had probably one of the bigger classes that we have in the mornings, and one of our purple belts, he rocked up with a friend of his, Dan, and Dan is like 6 classes in, so very fresh. And what this showed is, I've mentioned it before, but the concept of buy-in and getting buy-in and reinforcing buy-in throughout whenever someone new comes in, and new to the pedagogy as well, so it doesn't matter if they've been doing it for years. Getting that buy-in, otherwise you get interjections, and you get people trying to add in their 2 cents and that sort of thing, which is fine during insights. So during that time where we dedicate to actually talking about what could have been done different, that sort of thing. So one of the issues. I want to stop talking about issues. One of the things that I'll just do a quick rundown of what happened today. The first game that we played was essentially we're on one knee with a single leg sort of grip, however you want to do that, and the goal is to go from that to going around the back and having connection, two hands around their torso while you're out the back. And again, if you don't have buy-in with these sort of things, just by saying this is the goal, then what you do, particularly with someone who is more experienced, with someone who's lesser experienced. So, and I left it to Aaron today to work with. So I know that I hate saying that in that way, but as in, I'm not trying to sound like I'm some elevated. Oh, I'm allowing him to do it. No, I'm wanting to see how he shapes his classes, and so one of the things I noticed was almost straight away, because there was none of that buy-in. What immediately happened is, there's instruction from the purple belt, and this isn't an attack on him. He hasn't been sort of introduced to this kind of methodology, and particularly how I do it, or particularly how Aaron does it. So, and it's not too big of an issue, but again, we're trying to feel the problem and then identify what works for us. So self-organize around finding the solution, and if we can't find the solution, we can then ask the people that are higher ranked than us for where's somewhere to look, where should I be focusing my attention, because I can't seem to execute what I intend to do. So anyway, it was actually a really cool game to be played, because it required building up, so kind of moving up the body, which was interesting. It's not something that I can do as well because I'm fat and I've got bad knees. This is all excuses, by the way. But I self-organised around it and figured out a way that if I did this certain thing, I was able to get my arms around the torso first and then build myself up to go out the back. So, but other people were building up on their knees first and then flicking around the back and then getting the grabbing the torso, all these kind of things. So it was, it's a cool little exercise, and it showed me where some of my flaws, where some of my weaknesses are. Okay. The second game we played was essentially person in side control was just trying to hold side control, while the person on the bottom was trying to get a proper half guard, so thighs around the thighs. Again, a decent thing, especially as it related to something a bit later. But as I said, I like how he structures them in a certain way. Now we got to the guard section, this unconventional guard week, and we got to this guard section, and it kind of we did turtle guard. The first one was where you're just you're in turtle, person on top is in front of you, and your goal is just to keep them in front of you as they are trying to get round. Personally, I didn't find this particular one. It was relevant, but I didn't find this one particularly helpful. But the way Aaron creates his games, I actually can see what he's trying to do. He's trying to build a set of games that gradually open up the constraints, and I'm not sure how. Here's the thing: I'm not sure how I feel about it, but I don't really care as much. Well, I suppose I do. I suppose because I've said a number of times, hey, it'd be cool if you read the books, even just Rob Gray's books, get that theoretical underpinning, and you'll feel more confident in being able to do this. And he's like, yeah, okay, cool. Have you read the books? No. So I think a lot of what he's doing is it's based off what he's saying I'm doing, but then what he wants to do, and that's fine. One thing I thought when I was having a chat to him afterwards was, and I'm going to name the title of this video, is it's always evolving. These classes are always going to be evolving. So it's actually cool for me because I can see these versions of class and go, okay, well, I can pick what I like out of them, and see if that actually works. So there's a couple of things that really worked, and I was really keen to sort of use them as such in my development. And I'll explain where that is. So initially it was this face-to-face, and then the second goal was to the person who had their chest on the back was trying to either get to get their hips to their hips, and and at the same time trying to isolate a limb. Pretty sure this is how it went. And then the next game was just literally trying to isolate a limb, whether it be an isolated limb. Here's where it gets a little tricky, right? So the idea was to grip around a limb, essentially. So grip around this limb, whichever one it was, whichever of the four. And then the person on the bottom, the next part of the game was the person on the bottom was trying to stop, that game they were trying to stop them. And then the next game, their goal, the person on the bottom was trying to get their arms just around the limb, right? And then the last game was the person on the bottom was just trying to regain guard, like any type of guard where the person's in front. And that one was really cool, right? So, and then, so those last two, the goal for the person on the top was to try and get either back control or, it was like either back control or control of the limb or something. So here's where our discussion, Aaron and I's discussion afterwards went. I like the games. I said, you need to be more definitive on your goals. And he made a really good point, which sort of developed my idea around these things are always evolving. But he made a really good point. Where he said, yeah, but when I said it, there's a lot of confused eyes out there, a lot of confused faces. And I said, yeah, because they're all used to that old pedagogy of I get told step by step by step by step, and you're just telling me to do one single thing, or you're just telling me to get a task. So the problem is then you start muddying the waters, right? So and the issue is you say something like, and this is where the terminology and the nomenclature come, issues with old pedagogy versus new pedagogy, and old language versus new language, is you get something like, and get to a dominant position. What's a dominant position? Well, back control, side control, or mount. But what does that mean? Okay, so what does back control, side control, or mount mean to someone who is brand new to the game, to the sport, to the martial art? To someone who's brand new to the sport, to the martial art, that means nothing. So you have to then go through the concept of mount, back control thing, and side control. So if you look at it from the perspective of you're free of their legs and you are able to put downward pressure with your chest on their chest, or you have both your hooks in, and the waters got muddied a bit as Aaron tried to traverse the how do I put it? Like, tried to engage without giving away the direction that he wanted to take. He wanted them to go in, right? So he ended up giving them a little bit more of the task, but then muddying the task waters by saying, you can. I don't care if you go this way or you go that way, or if you do this or you do that, which then just gave them like 2 options, 3 options to get to those things. Whereas if he had just said, we want to get in mount, in back control, and just showed all of them and said, like, hooks in, side control is this, and mount is this, But and it's not his fault. He was trying to address the audience's, what he could see is the audience's concerns, and I get that, and it is something that I think the only reason why I would, and I said to him afterwards, I was like, you just got to be more specific with the task focus, right? Because if you're specific with it, then, and also give them the opportunity to understand that they are allowed to fail. I think that's one of the biggest things that this pedagogy allows is the opportunity to learn from your own failures. But because we've all been indoctrinated into this old school system, I swear it's almost a borderline fear that if I do it wrong, they're going to be upset with me. So how do I do it right? Well, how you do it right is how you execute it for your body. And if you don't have any other fucking direction, and you get to the task intention and fucking execute it, then you've done it right. So there's anything in between is not really an issue, because you've executed the task that you've required to do, and you've learned by testing out a whole range of things. As I've said with a couple of other reviews of Aaron's classes, I feel like they are great. Someone coming to class is going to get a workout. They're going to feel things straight away. They're going to feel how things should be. One of the, I suppose I could make a minor criticism. One of the minor criticisms of that first game, the one where you have to just keep them in front of you, right, was that he said, I don't want you to go too hard or anything like that. And in fact, that was probably the one where we should have gone as hard as possible, because it was the one that you wanted to show how easy it is if you're not engaged with the arms, with the legs, with all this sort of stuff. So, I said to him afterwards that I'm not criticising the class. The class is great. If I was new, I'd be straight down and be learning straight away. I suppose one of the things that happened is, and it's, again, I don't want to drop shit on anyone. Like, this is not about that. But Tom jumped up, and it was the perfect time for it. So I was during insights and all that, and he said, I want to show. Can I show something? Right? And I was like, yeah, cool. And then he started showing something, and he's like, I want to get and he was showing stuff that was the intrinsic, like that knowledge of stuff. And so I asked him, I was like, okay, but what effect are you having on that person? What are you trying to affect on that person. And I think there was an element of, oh, I've got some information I can impart to you, and that's fine. Like I was hoping that everyone in the room was going to get something out of it, because I do understand, and look, I got something out of it as well. I'm not acting like, oh, I got nothing out of it, but everyone else did. No, I wanted to know what he was affecting on that in this particular position, but I needed that information in order to understand why he thought that like it was, he had this extrinsic, and then I put my weight over here. What does that mean? What am I trying to affect? What am I trying to shut down on that person? How am I trying, just putting my weight there doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. What am I trying to achieve? And he gave that in the end. But again, there's a language thing there that I wanted to address as well. So I'm in two minds about the use of old school nomenclature and new school nomenclature. To be honest, I'm in the two minds for it. It's like appealing to people that are already doing it and being able to, as Aaron said, like look stuff up later. But I also think like it's not even universal across BJJ, let alone fucking the grappling world as a whole. So I'm starting to come around to Greg Sauter's viewpoint of just focusing on these almost academic style language, where it's like the task is to enclose your thighs, double enclosure around one of their thighs or one of their limbs or whatever the case may be. Anyway, I'm rabbiting. Thanks very much for joining me. See you in the next one. Any questions, like, comment, subscribe. I do have a bit of technical issues on this video, so if you have any technical sound and or picture quality jumps, that's the reason why. Much love. Cheers.